Hello and welcome to the AVRUM ROSENSWEIG show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the show. My name is indeed AVRUM ROSENSWEIG. Some performances don't just tell a story, they open a doorway into a world. A glance, a pause, a quiet exchange can carry generations of memory, of longing, of humor, and of faith. Today, we step into that world with Sarel Piterman. Welcome, Sarel.
Welcome. Nice to be here.
Lovely to have you. An actor, a writer who's born in Haifa, whose work reveals the poetry hidden inside ordinary moments. He's known to audiences around the globe for his appearances at Zvi Aryeh Shtisel in the acclaimed series Shtisel. Shtisel invited viewers into an intimate universe where family bonds, where tradition and personal struggles unfolded with tenderness and with depth. And Sarel's presence in that landscape reflects the very essence of the show: authenticity, restraint, and emotional truth. But his artistic journey stretches far, far beyond a single frame. Across his career, Sarel has pursued roles that demand vulnerability, discipline, and a fearless curiosity about human nature. His performances carry a quiet intensity, an understanding that most powerful storytelling often lives in what is felt rather than what is spoken. In this conversation, we will explore the path of an Israeli actor, writer, devoted to craft, the risks, the revelations behind the scenes, the cultural textures that shape storytelling, and the enduring search for meaning through art. We'll talk about identity, about imagination, and the responsibility of bringing complex lives to the screen and to the stage. This episode is an invitation to listen closely, to feel deeply, and to witness the artistry that transforms moments into memory. Ladies and gentlemen, I learned more about Sarel through my viewing of a one-man play that came to Toronto, one that he wrote and directed, called Without an Evil Eye. It's an innovative comedy recounting the inspiring true life of Asaf ben Shimon, whose gradual descent into blindness enabled him to affirm the gift of life. It's truly groundbreaking. It is my pleasure to bring to you Sarel Piterman. How are you?
Perfect. Wow. What great words you said, Avrum. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting, when I read the intro to my guests, some of them sit back and they really take it in and they're quiet for a moment. Some of them feel as though, oh, who was that? What
Yeah.
what was your response to my intro?
Um, who's that? Some kind of who's that? Yeah, life goes by. You do a lot of projects. You moved from one play to a movie script to a TV series. You don't remember everything, and once someone is like saying what you did and telling your life story. So you said, "Wow, I really did all all that stuff." Like I'm 42. I maybe look older, but I'm only 42.
So are you satisfied then what you have accomplished up until this point in time?
Think so, yeah. I think so. I wanted to be an actor. I started in stand-up comedy, to be exact. So I started in comedy, and this was my first media that I chose to work on. I was a stand-up comedian, a very, very bad one. Like stand-up comedy is like Satanism. Like I don't understand. It's such a cruel art form. Like if somebody doesn't laugh, you are alone on the stage and you get this huge kick on your face from the audience by not laughing. And it's you have to be very, very good and you have to be persistent. And I learned a lot about audience through stand-up comedy, and that made me a different actor
I see.
because I remember in acting school when everybody was in the scene and talking in the scene, I was like in the scene, and then I was looking at the audience to see their response, if they're laughing, if they're moving. My eye was always checking the audience as an actor, and I was trained for 1 year to be in the scene and, and not look at
Yeah.
the audience. And uh, and I think after like 10 years as an actor, I understood, okay, maybe an actor is not my exact position. I love to act. I'm a good actor, I think, but this is not my strongest position. And then I started to write, direct, create for all kinds of media, theater, Israeli television, a lot. 7 movies I wrote, and I was part of the writing process. That's it.
What do you naturally feel more so like? Do you feel like when you wake up in the morning, you open your eyes, and from that moment you have that, that moment of reality that we faced? You say, "Ah, Sarel Boker Tov, actor." Or do you say Boker Tov, writer?
It's not an hypothetical questions, because sometimes they're like 4 months ago I was suggested to be part of a new Israeli TV series as an actor. They offered me 10 shooting days, and it was like in the middle of me writing some new project, and I have this crazy deadline, and I needed to decide to postpone the deadline of the writing or to be an actor for 10 days. It's a nice role, a big role, and I decided not to do that. Like, I decided to keep writing. So the question is a daily day question. Of course, I love writing. Writing is acting is a disease. Like, acting is not a good disease. It's like a disease that take control in your soul. When you're an actor, you just want to act. You just want, the claps from the audience. You just want to do another role, another character, and it's like heroin for the mind. It's like it's very addictive to be an actor. And it took me a lot of years to say, I'm putting it aside. This is my hobby. If I want to act, I will act as a hobby. I will do a show, or I will do 2 days in a new movie of my friends. But it's not something that I can call myself today as an actor.
It's interesting. You're talking about an addiction, and what comes to mind when you reference acting in that context, and I hear that because I guess part of broadcasting is acting as well. But what strikes me is when you played Zvi Aryeh Shtisel, and you would have to dress up like a Hasidic Jew,
Mhm.
and I'm going to guess that took a long time to get into character, both
It's around
physically.
3 hours of
It's three
prep.
hours every time,
Prep.
every time you shot.
Yeah. The problem wasn't the morning. The problem was lunch, because we get early in the morning, 5 a.m. We are on set around 8 a.m. We are shooting the first scenes. Then we have like 5 hours of shooting, and then there's lunch in 1 o'clock and 1 p.m. But you're with the beard, they will not take off your beard. And you are eating schnitzel, and all your beard is like covered with like breadcrumbs, and it doesn't get off. They have a special how you
Like a
call it,
brush.
a brush for the borekas, for the breadcrumbs
That's
all
great.
over the beard. And it's half stick and half not, and it's like this and everything. And after lunch, like the makeup artist needed to work like 2 hours to get off all the things that was on the beard for lunch. Yeah, we had this personal rabbi. Mine was Shlomo Vider. He was with us before the shooting and during the shooting. And he was telling us, you kiss the door with this hand, you hold the bag with this hand, you knock on the Torah 3 times before you open it, you kiss this one. You need to kiss a lot. You kiss this,
There's a
this
lot of hugging
person
and
with
kissing.
this
Yes.
hand, and you put the girdle like this, and there's someone close to you, and if he watches the scene also on the monitor, so you can say, no, you cannot sit with the capota like this on the chair. You need to lift it up and then sit, and then they are like doing it again. We lift the capota and then sit. There's like a ritual for everything in the Haredi Hasidic society. It's like everything is a ritual. They're like, and it was an amazing experience. Shtisel gave me personally a lot of very, very emotional memories,
Yes.
uh, making it and performing it, and the love that we got. That was crazy, because Shtisel was here in Israel, and it became more and more watch. It wasn't wasn't yet a big thing here. And then suddenly it was distributed in Netflix. And then in one night they put it in Netflix. In the a day after it, I got 500
Wow.
500 friend requests in the Instagram,
Wow.
and from all over the world. It was it was completely crazy. From Turkey, from Pakistan, from Argentina, from like in one night 500 people, like, and people were, wow, we love the show, we love your character, we love. And it was very heartwarming. There was very, very, very funny situation. I always tell here in interviews that they wanted me. I got this mail from this like rabbi,
Yes.
a very cool one. He writes very funny, and he talked about Shtisel. And they had this Purim spiel. They had this Purim thing, and he told me, "We want you to come and sing in our Purim thing." And he offered to pay a large amount of money for me to come to Toronto to do two songs, two Hasidic songs in their big Purim party.
Amachaya.
Amichai. And then I needed to explain him that I'm not Haredic and I don't really know how to sing. This is a voice manipulation that you do it at the movies. And like I was, to, what do I do? I will buy a beard and come to there like
Yes. Yeah. What was the
and
outcome? What happened?
and I decided not to do that. I
Not to
couldn't
do.
fool them. No, no, it's not fair. But they wanted the show of Zvi Arye, and Zvi Arye is in the TV. I'm Sarel. It's a different.
Did you like Zvi Arye?
It was annoying. It's an annoying character.
How so? How so?
What?
How was he annoying?
He's annoying because he's never happy and he always complain, and he's like very narrow-minded. But he's like a small child in a big man's body. Like he's a small child. He wants to get noticed. He wants someone to give him his kidney. He wants his wife to appreciate him. He wants to sing at the. All of his arcs was like a small kid arcs, like a
Yeah.
small kid in a big man's body. And that was my interpretation to the character. He was a little bit childlike.
What do you do when you're faced with a character like that? Do you go into your own soul and remember what the childlike components are of your neshama, of your soul? Is that something you have to develop? Are you a needy fellow that way?
It's a good question. When I was an actor, my body, when I read the text, my body knew what to do. So my body took me to some position of the body or something from outside that was like making this archetype caricature of the character. And then I was getting inside and thinking to myself, okay, what he got, this character got, what is characteristics that I've got in myself. So Zvi Arye, when I read the scripts, I said, "Oh, is vulnerable, is insecure, is." So I try to find in myself the places that I'm vulnerable, that I'm insecure, that I want to be something that I'm not. That were the places. In other characters, I did Tagad, it was also a big series in Israel. I was like the bad man in series one. I was the evil, and there was a very big role in Tagad. And there he was so manipulative and a snake, and I have also these sides in myself. So a lot, I have a lot of sides. So each time I can find myself different sides that I let myself put out and let them lead the character.
Are you okay with those different sides? Are you comfortable with them?
Yeah, we all have them. Like some of them are lying that we don't have, but we all, as human beings, have our flaws, have our good sides, have our bad sides. I think so.
So you have children, right? Thank God.
Yeah.
When they watch those shows, and you've done many of them, both acting and writing, and they watch you, will they ever come back and say to you, "Oh, Daddy, I couldn't see you in there. I didn't know who you were. I was very curious about
Oh,
that
from,
side of
from
you."
an early age, they were like very supportive, and every new show I do, now I mainly write, so they they're on the premiere, even if it's not a children's show, like grown up shows, and
Yeah.
they're like
Yes. Yes.
really into it, and they know all the actors, and like it's very in Israel. We have a very very small industry,
Yeah.
so it's not a lot of people. It's not the U.S. It's not Canada. It's like 6 million adults or 7 million adults in Israel, and our film theater industry may be 500, 600, 700 people. Like I mean, working on it, not those who like teach and then once 5 years work. Like people work it daily day. So in after 10 years, you know everyone. You it's a community. This is your like friends and the people you hang out with.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did a little bit of a comparison between the Hollywood industry and the Israel industry, and some of the things that came up. A couple of which you said, the scale of the industry. You're right; it's quite small. So the
Very small.
actors, as an example, that you acted with on Shtisel, you probably had known them or even acted with them prior, right?
Yeah, of course. Michael, since then, we did more shows with Michael Aloni. With Dovale, no, because Dovale was was in his comeback. Shtisel was his comeback. After many years, he was on stages, and was his comeback back to the front of the screen. Since then, he did a lot of roles from there, but it was his comeback. So Dovale, I didn't play it with. I really wanted to work with the director, with Alon Zingman, that he's one of the best directors in Israel. I work with a lot of them, and like Alon is a great director. He's so minimalist and so accurate and so full of life and authenticity. Is great, and it
There's
was really
a couple of other things. The comparison is um, there are budget realities in
yeah.
Hollywood that you take a look at movies. If a movie's made for $70 million nowadays, you go, yeah, that makes sense. Whereas in
We
Israel,
do, and we do a movie for $1 million, around 4 million shekels. This is the average Israeli movie. So we're making mostly dramas. It makes because I have a theory that Hebrew is the best language in the world, for my opinion. God chose it, not me. So
yes,
if God chose it, it's have to be the
good
best.
by you.
I'm nothing. He chose the Hebrew language, but the problem with the Hebrew language is the Nazi Imach Shmam in Germany. They killed a lot of our guys. So today there's not a lot of Hebrew speakers. So when you work in Hebrew, an actor in Hebrew, or you write or direct in Hebrew, so you have like 7 million audience in Israel and around 2 more millions more in the US or Canada who knows Hebrew. Okay, 9 million, 10 million people. So it's not an economic language to create in, because me, if I'm a developer or if I'm a business owner, there's not enough crowd to sell tickets in cinemas or in territories, because it's in language, it's a foreign film, and in English it's in a way more, it's not easy, because the industry in California, it's not an easy industry, but there's more possibilities. Even now, when you are through the net and you can do stuff like in the internet, and if you have English is much like easier language for the audience. So it makes us, the Israeli developers or writers or creators, more dramatic, because this is the only genre that we can use to stay on budget. We cannot do sci-fi, we cannot do horror, we cannot do big epic things. We can do dramas, like family dramas, romantic dramas, but it needs to stay inside of rooms. And this is because, and I think one of the shows that you can say put it aside, it's Fauda. That Fauda really, in their first season, they really succeeded because of the director in its first 2 seasons to create a big balagan, a big show with a
Yes.
very, very small budget international. And those two shows, Fauda and Shtisel, they were sold together from Yes Studios in Israel to Netflix and to distribution around the world. And together they was the Fauda and Shtisel time. Fauda is still like number one in many countries around the world, even though it's in Hebrew. But mainly it's not like that. Fauda is like it's Fauda.
Well, it's amazing is you used the word a few minutes ago about the director whom you really like to work with, and you said that he's a minimalist. And once again, what came to mind was that Israel, by and large, is a small budget country. And I think that it has to draw on its minimalism as well, both in terms of the military, culturally, how people live, right? How people maximize the resources that they have, and certainly in the industry of acting, because you don't have a lot of money.
Israel, it's not by accident, it's the home of so many creative people.
Yeah.
You have to improvise every day. You improvise your way to work, you improvise your career, to improvise your writing to fit production budgets. You need to improvise because in the US you do stuff by the rules. You have like rules, you have like different steps. Here you're like, come on, you are in the shuk, in the
Yes.
market. Let's go, let's do that. Okay, we left. It's like, and I think it's no accident the biggest producers in United States in the early 20s were Jewish, like Polish Jewish, because it's something about us that doesn't know to take no for an answer, like in our culture. We have to show people it can be done. Like it can't be done. It can be done. And I think it's something about Israelism or Judaism that like I think it's very different from other cultures. I'm traveling a lot this year. I have like two shows that are traveling. One is Without an Evil Eye that you saw in Toronto. We had previously we had in April a tour of the show in Hebrew in
Yeah.
all the United States on the East Coast and in Toronto. And I came back a week ago from New York. I was stuck in the storm, an amazing experience in the big storm in New York.
Yes.
My flight was delayed in 2 days, and I stayed there, and I did a show called the Jabotinsky's Dream that I created and directed, written by Zvi Arye, that was shown there in a big evening for Jabotinsky in New York, and it was a huge success. And soon it's also maybe coming to Canada.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Um, we talk about the you have to improvise. Let's use that phrase
Mhm.
as the launching pad for these questions. Uh, October 7th happened, yeah, and it was a terrifying time for all Israelis, and I'm sure you know that it was a terrifying time for diaspora Jews as well. We suffered a lot, and anti-Semitism has reared its ugly head in a big way, and that is very terrifying for most people. As an actor, what were you able to do subsequently for the people of Israel? I spoke with David Broza, and David told me, a great singer in Israel, very well known. He
Of
told me
course.
that he performed, I think, in something like 250 concerts after October 7th, Sarel. And that
I
was
think
for individuals, for
I think
families, for kibbutzim.
we did a lot of volunteer jobs because during 7th of October, 2 months after it, my movie Running on Sand was distributed here
Yes.
in Israel through the war. And they wanted to do a premiere in Kibbutz Shfaim. And in the premiere, there were only people from Nahal Oz, from Be'eri, who were like staying at Shfaim Kibbutz hostel, or I don't know, village
Yes.
resort,
Yes.
and all of the audience of the premiere was like people who allocated from their homes because of the war, and people who are friends got murdered, and it was very, very, very moving experience, and it was an amazing experience. But the most amazing experience was I have an opera show for children I wrote called I directed by songs of a very familiar Israeli uh, poem writer, and it's with a grand orchestra of 40 violinists, and we did it in a small dining room in a hotel in Tel Aviv that hosted people who were families or friends who were killed during the 7th of October. And there were many, 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 many kids over there, all sitting on the floor, and all the channelists, and then they were sitting on wooden chairs, everybody cramped in a small room with, sirens in the background. and they are playing classical music, and the kids are laughing and clapping. And I think that was the most emotional experience during the war that I can remember me having in. But there was many things that happened in that area of time that a lot of people in Israel, I think, want to forget. Like I told you, we are a survival culture. We are uh, in impro, in theater, and in life, in improvisation. You can't get stuck in the old line. You have to go forward in impro. In impro, you have to. And I think a lot of people want now to like step aside from the events that happened 2.5 years ago, um, because I think it's changed everybody here in Israel
How
in
so?
many ways. Um, I don't know. I think it was a realization. It was like a wake up call. Like we thought, oh, we're safe. Okay, we have Israel. We have an army. We're safe. Okay, there was a suicide bombing in Ashkelon. Okay, but in New Orleans, someone gets with a gun and massacre in high school. So you think, okay, this is our problems. We can manage it, and then something that's enormous and big happened to you. It's changing. It changes all your safety perspective about life, about your country. And it's hard to understand. Hey, I'm not safe. Like I'm not safe. Listen, I've been to New York right now, and I met many like Jewish people in New York in the diaspora, and I think they are like starting to understand now something that I understood in the 7th of October. Like people in the diaspora, they say, nothing here, no, don't gonna change us. Like no one gets to, we and the goys are living together. I'm not a Jewish, I'm a goy myself, and uh, and it's exactly the stories my grandmother told me about Wroclaw in Poland 2 minutes before the war. So I am I consider myself a Zionist. Like I really believe that Israel is the place for like the Jewish people to live, to create, to write, to work. Um, and I'm sure we're gonna see a lot of changes, mainly in the Northern American countries in the last few years. I think there's gonna be a big Aliyah wave from those countries in the next 5 6 years.
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, we need those creative minds here. I think so, and I think the more we are, and the more like you know, the more we are as a nation, and the more creative we are, and the more smart we have, and the more human we get, the good human resources, so we can really be an empire here in Israel.
You're not afraid of having too many Jews in one place?
We are already too many, so what's a million more?
It's a
That's
good Israeli.
never, yeah. It's 3 Jews is too many, so 7 million adults.
It's very Talmudic of you.
Yeah,
Sarel, the more and more that I've done interviews with Israelis, IDF soldiers, people in your industry, in the theater industry, survivors of Nova, the more I've become fascinated by the Israeli character. And I think that it is very complex. And I think it runs very, very deeply. There's a lot of Jewishness that I am finding, a lot of Talmud, a lot of Middle Eastern personality traits. And I just want to touch on a couple of them, and I want to hear your response vis-a-vis those things and how you interpret them in terms of what you do as an actor, as a writer, as a father, someone who was in the IDF, someone who saw October 7th and responded to it. One of the things um, that is very Israeli, and not to be undermined, it's a very strong sense of collective responsibility because of shared history and civic expectations. Many Israelis grow up with a feeling that they are responsible for one another. Strangers often step in to help without hesitation. Does that touch you, that thought?
of course, of course. כל ישראל ערבים זה לזה. It's like I say, it's the body, it's not the mind. It's so inherited in us
Yes.
That
Yes.
we go and do the action and then think, oh, why I did that? Why did I help him? I'm first helping. I'm first donating. I'm first going to help in this kitchen or to send a show of mine to perform and to arrange to a friend of mine in Tkuma that they were sent to this ugly place in the Tiberias because there was an issue, and I'm sending them talents to go and perform. We are all trying to get through it together because we have nothing in this area geographically except us. No neighboring countries that you can rely on. No neighboring empires that can help us. Our best friend, like the U.S., is very, very far. If they want to help us, they need 10 days to send their
Mm.
marines and their boats and their navy to here. So you have to rely on your neighbor, even if you are not agreeing with him politically, and even if you are a very different person, because Israel is a multicultural society. Even in the Jewish Israel, there's many different cultural here, and there are like a lot of how you say it, clashes between those Israeli cultures in politics, in culture itself, in music, and it's a very bubbling. It's still an immigrant society. We're only third generation since the Holocaust, so all of the creative is still we are creating now the Israeli culture, because only in the 2000 you can call it Israeli culture because the old generation came from Poland or came from Morocco or came from Egypt. There was like the son of immigrants. We are the third generation. We are not the son of the immigrants. We are like the Israelis, my generation, the 80s, 90s, and we are different kind of creators, and we are looking Israeli differently than the old generation.
So we know that around the time of perestroika and glasnost, the early 90s and into that decade and onwards, many Russians came to Israel.
I
Just
think Israel today is an empire in some fields, right?
yeah.
I don't know, because of the Russian immigrants,
Oh, you think so? Why?
because they brought their 100,000 years of academic knowledge together. They came with nothing because, like, the Russians cannot didn't allow them to take nothing out. So most of them came here with nothing, and they were like doctors in Moscow, and now they're cleaning toilets at the office for a few years until they get their diploma. But they brought here culture, they brought here academic, they brought here education. They all the startup communities started to rise because of the like Brit Hamotzot, the Soviet Union, Jews who came here in the early 90s. I think Israel today it's a technological empire, let's say,
Yes.
for a 10 million people country, because of this aliyah from the Soviet Union, from my perspective.
Right. And then to add to this discussion about the collectivity, Kol Yisroel, Arevim Zealous, everybody's responsible for one another. You did a film called Running on Sand
Yeah.
about an Eritrean runner, right? Who ended
Yeah.
up in Israel.
I me this the screenplay was written by me, Yoav Abel, and Asi Zerichovich. They were my writing partners. It was directed by Adar Shafran. Me and Asi and Yoav, we did a few years ago a mini series about the Eurovision, about an Islamic ISIS bomber who comes to the Eurovision in Israel. It's called Douze Pois, and Douze Pois it was good, so we decided to write Running on Sand. And Running on Sand, we tried to do a comedy about racism, and we thought to ourselves, wow, that's funny. All the foreign workers here in Israel sometimes feel threatened or feeling they are not Israelis. And so we thought, oh, that's hilarious if because he's black, is not an Eritrean cleaner, is the new football star who came to help the the team not good not go to the other league to go down a league, and they is I saved he will save them, but he doesn't know how to play soccer. And it was like a comedy, like sociological comedy, like critic comedy, but we put it in a comedy, sport comedy, and people really loved it. It was funny and moving, and make like we laughed about racism. But we are all racist, and we should acknowledge that and try not to be outside as racist as we are inside. Um, and it was a huge hit during the war. It's like we get a 300,000 viewers during the month like of December, 2 months after 7th of October. People came to see comedy at like the movies. It was an amazing. I thought like after a week they should shut down and put it on VOD or put it on video on demand or something. But it was for 3 months was screened and people it was full house.
Yeah, Kol Hakavod, it was wonderful.
And we
Ju-
won Palm Springs and the Haifa Festival for script and
No, it's wonderful.
yeah, it was a wonderful
In light of
experience.
what you're saying is like trying to find humor in racism. When, as an example, Thai workers were taken hostage into Gaza, did that change your relationship or the Israeli relationship with the workers
I
who
don't
were?
think s- I don't think so. I think that's a very good question because there was a lot of noise since around all the Israeli soldiers and families was kidnapped. So those foreigners, I'm not talking about specific people who care about them. I'm talking about as a collective. They they, they weren't on the headlines. Nobody talked about them. There was the list of names of hostages and refugee and hostages and kidnap people who kidnapped. Most of them was the same, like 10 names. There were like 140 abductees, and they were like in the media you heard again and again 10 or 15 names of the families who were trying to convince the government to do something to release them, to pressure more to release them. I think if we are talking about myself, I think 7th of October um, really showed me from Shoah Kuma as a human being. I think a lot of Israeli because the massacre was so horrific and so hard and brutal. You felt like everything is going to collapse. You felt, oh, okay, there's no country anymore. Like, and then in the months after it, you see all the communities working together, building it, and you are feeling proud. Listen, man, before 7th of October, I myself and my family was like thinking, maybe I'll go and like to Germany or I work a few years in the US. I know some English. I can manage. My wife could know. But now I can't see myself like living anywhere else
Why is that?
because 7th of October, I realized for better and for worse, this is my home.
Yeah.
I don't know how to understand it. It's hard. I know it's hard, but my body understood it, and then my mind now is really understanding. And since then, I'm like really trying to get to Jewish communities abroad in the diaspora, and to bring them Israeli culture. I think nowadays it's more important than ever because we are third generations. Um, the glue the big Holocaust glue of our people is starting to tear apart. That the glue between the diaspora Jews and the Israeli Jews, between the Sephardic Jews to the Ashkenaz Jews, and a lot of different communities. And I think as writers, as artists, our only goal in Hebrew, our only goal nowadays the Messima Chashuva, the great mission, is to put another layer of glue. And this is you do through art, through culture, through cinema, through writing, sometimes in Hebrew, sometimes in English. Many Jews in around the world from our last tour, they like they know some Hebrew from like Hebrew school or something, but they cannot all the conversation in Hebrew with you. So I
So,
would like them to do that.
Sarel, in that light, again, just jumping back to Zvi Arye, the viewer gets a sense. Well, Sarel Piterman, he must be a from Jew. He must be a religious Jew. He's really acting that part very well. So, in that light, what's very Jewish about you?
Wow, that's a good question. Nobody asked me that before.
Yes, it's my objective.
It's a good one. I need to think for a minute.
What's Jewish about you? What did
I
you really?
was surprised. No, what's Jewish about me? I don't want to answer a very, very long answer, so I'm trying to do. I consider myself as a Chiloni Jew.
Yes.
You know, what's a Chiloni Jew? It's someone who doesn't practice Judaism and don't do the Tariq mitzvahs and don't go to synagogue. And I drive on Saturday. I'm not, but in myself, in my identity, I am part. I feel a part of these people. I get emotional when I hear the Shir Ma'alot. I get emotional when my people get hurt because they are Jewish. I I believe in God above in some way. Is the greatest playwright of all. Like
Yes,
uh,
absolutely.
is like amazing, amazing stuff. And I think what's make me a Jew that I feel I'm Jewish.
It's a sense.
And yeah, I'm celebrating all the holidays. I'm like educating my children in the Jewish part of life. I'm secular. I'm a secular Jew, but the Judaism is a part of me. It's not something that I'm not reflecting. I'm thinking about it a lot. And
It's interesting. You mentioned Taryag Mitzvot, which is a reference to the 613 mitzvot. You've referenced Tanakh a little bit in our discussion. That is unique in itself, by the way. Most diaspora Jews, most cannot do that. They don't have a sense of, like, when you went to school, you studied Tanakh, right?
listen, I think I'm a third generation of Holocaust survivors from all
Yes.
sides. So I really was, and my grandparents were the one that grew me up because my father and mother worked all day, and I was like sent to a art school in Haifa, and I go back to my grandparents, and they were like Auschwitz survivors, and because every time I think we are so privileged that we have a country that we cannot understand how privileged we are that we have a country
Yes. Yes.
for ourselves. 80 years ago, we didn't add nothing here. There was only sand. And now we have an amazing country. I don't know who've been to Israel in the last 2 years. It's beautiful, and it's becoming
Yes.
more and more beautiful and more eco-friendly and more developed. And I think in Tel Aviv is a hustling hub of everything creative and food. And I love Tel Aviv. I love my country a lot.
Where do you live now?
In Tel Aviv, in the
You live in
northern,
Tel-
yeah, next to the
Do
sea.
you like Jerusalem at all? Svat, those types of cities?
Oh, yeah, I love those mystic cities as a
The
tourist.
mystical ones, yeah.
Yeah, I need my cafe and bar, and I need an urban life.
Valot, the Valots, right?
Yeah, I love to live
Enjoy.
alone.
Sarel, you talked about your grandparents as being Auschwitz survivors. One of the things that I read about when I was doing research for the show, talking about the cultural patterns within Israel and how that would affect you, it's the idea of that you Israelis have a very high tolerance for uncertainty. Many Israelis grow up in an environment that requires resilience and flexibility. So you grew up, by and large, in a family where your grandparents from both sides were Auschwitz survivor. There's a lot of uncertainty there. Yeah, they made Aliyah. You lived in Israel your entire life. Your enemies surround the country, and then one war after another war. There's a lot of uncertainty there. How is that reflected in what you do for a living, in your writing? Is there uncertainty in the narratives of your plays,
Yes,
theater?
there's uncertainty in the subjects. when you are a writer, you don't write the first thing that comes to your mind. There's
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
ideas and many proposal you get, many. In stand-up comedy, when I wrote many years for stand-up comedians in my early days. So I always tell, when you write a stand-up, you have like 100 jokes. You write 100 jokes, 10 jokes people will laugh in, and one joke will be a bunker joke. Like every audience you will perform, it will be a great joke. So you need, for a 1 hour and 15 minutes routine show of comedy, you need to write around, I don't know, 600, 700 jokes
Well,
so it works. Yeah, it's hard to write funny. And when I just started writing, and I always ask myself what I'm interested in. So I found myself writing funny stuff, funny stuff about sad subjects.
yeah.
So this is how I found myself writing Who Died. It's a comedy, romantic comedy in a cancer ward. Was on Yes Studio, and it was a romantic comedy, but it was an oncology award about my friend's life story that he beat cancer stage 4 by comedy and by love.
Yeah.
And we 10 episodes of that. And I wrote um, I wrote a comedy about getting old as an artist called The Electrifiers, about a,
Electrifiers. Yes.
like a group of like 60 years old rock that need to understand that they are has-beens, but they are not understanding it. And
That was great.
Running on Sand, about refugees and how we treat them. And I did a children drama, like multi-episode drama about how you call it in English, poisoning relationships,
Yes. Toxicity in a relationship. Yeah.
toxicity, narcissism. That the main plot was around a toxic relationship. And I'm always trying to find a new way to look on a dramatic subject, and it makes it like those dramedies that I make in the last few years.
Do you have a lot of sadness inside of you?
I used to have. I think that you're getting old. The sadness. I much more as after my 40s. I found myself that I'm a more dreamer than what I was in my 20s. When
Interesting.
I was in my 20s, only wanted to work in my profession. Get me to a job. I want this role. I want to be everywhere. I want to be, take me, take me, take me.
Yes. Yes.
And when you are in a take me mood, you are not free to imagine, to dream, you are in a survival mode. And when you turn 40s, you tell yourself, yeah, I will survive. Okay, I will survive. I understand. I will survive. And now it's time to start dream on like doing bigger stuff and more important stuff. Um, that's it.
You like yourself now?
Yeah, I think so. It was a long hero journey to
What,
get there.
Sarah, what do you like about yourself?
Um, I like that I have. First of all, I like my house and I like my environment and my friends and community that surrounds me. I think it's important. And when I look back and in the last 15 years that I'm creating and writing, directing, performing, I'm thinking to myself, hey, nice job, man.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice job. We forget to tell ourselves, hey, to ourselves. We hear it from others, but at night in the dark, we are under the blanket. We can tell ourselves two things: what I didn't do today, what I didn't do tomorrow, what I didn't do. And you can tell yourself, hey, man, good job, great job. You took serious subjects. You did influence through your art. You moved people. You changed their perspectives. The actor who playing Umari in Running on Sand, the main character, I'm working with him now. We have a new show that's going to be premiered in April, after like in before Passover, that is telling his life story. We met on the set of Running on Sand, and we started talking, and we become friends. And he started telling me about his life story. I'm like, listen, man, this is a great comedy for 1 hour show about the life
Yeah.
of a refugee a comedy about the civil war in Congo? Yeah, man,
Let's
that's
do it. Let's
amazing.
do it.
And
Yeah.
we are also on the verge of civil war in Israel here, so
Yeah.
it's going to be reflective. The foreign worker who tells us not to fight with each other because we have only one land, and it becomes the most Zionist thing I ever written, but it's like from the mouth of a foreign refugee from Congo. And
Sorel, what's magnificent about you and what's magnificent about Israelis in general, not all, but many, 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 is what you're saying right now. The fact of the matter is you grew up with Auschwitz survivors, right? You're
yeah,
42 years old, so you remember some of the wars of attrition, the intifadas.
yeah,
Yet you're by and large a happy man.
why not? And listen, I've been to I don't remember Finland. I don't Norway. No, Denmark. I've been to one of those.
Yeah.
And many, many years. No, it was Denmark. I think Copenhagen. And people are so gloomy and so emotionally detached.
Yeah.
And there was something that, and they have like this great infrastructure and great architecture and good food, and the weather is problematic because it's cold and dark there most of the year. But there wasn't a spark. I was there for 10 days. There wasn't a spark. And in Israeli, for better and for worse, everywhere you go, you have these sparks. And
Firing.
it's a crazy country.
What
It's
was
not for
What was
everyone.
Sorel, what was Canada? What were the Canadians like? Tell me about them.
Okay. Listen, I met one kind of Canadians. We've been in Toronto for 2 weeks, I think, in total. Oh, I have a great story about the show in Toronto. I wanted to
Yeah,
tell you.
please, please.
Um, I think people in Canada are very polite. They really say sorry 2,000 days times a day,
We have a
and
quota. Yeah.
you are very very polite. And we got to this huge hug from the Canadian audience. I didn't expected it, because when Howard told us, listen, we're gonna do a tour in English in Toronto, 14 shows in 2 weeks in the Meridian Center, and I told Howie, listen, Saf, he doesn't speak English at all. He speaks 5 words. It's a 1 hour comedy show, theater comedy show in English in
Yeah.
3 months. So we had Ben. He's also from Toronto originally. He was his tutor, and he worked with him for 3 months. Asaf is blind; he can't read the pages, so line after line, he learned all the show. And then we had a pre-show booked in Boston. We decided to do the show in Boston before we come to these 15 sold-out shows in the Meridian in Toronto. And we are in this congregation in Boston, and Asaf's doing the start of the show. And listen, this show ran in Israel for 1,000 times. Quarter of a million people saw it in Israel. So we know the start of the show is funny. The audition part, the
Yes.
start of the
Yes.
show, audition part. And people in Boston sat there and they are not laughing, and they're looking at the screen like this. They're looking at the stuff like this. And I'm in the like booth in the control, and I'm telling to the tech guy, what's going on here? Why they are not laughing? This is the first time we did it in English in front of the audience. Nobody's laughing. And in the only the end, after the synagogue part, there was a joke about the cleaner, the rabbi and the cleaner, and they laughed a lot. So I understood, okay, the audience is with him, but they are not laughing. They laughed only in one place. And I didn't understand why, and my heart was beating. And like in 2 days, we're gonna perform 15 times, sold out shows in the Harold Green in the Meridian. And then I talked to some of the audience outside, and I understood that they didn't understood that he's really blind, and this is his life story.
Okay.
So I called to my musician. He's in Australia, and I called him. I told him, "Dan, please record me a message like this. You're gonna see without an evil eye show. Please close your cell phone, and you are allowed to laugh, to cheer, to answer. So Asaf will know that you are there." And when we do that, and we put it in the first show in
Yeah.
Toronto, people were laughing and applauding and answering him back, and it was an amazing thing to see. One like because Americans are like really, really, really politically correct. And if there is a blind man on stage, they cannot laugh if you don't let them laugh.
Very
And
good.
when you're in a politically correct society, you need to tell your audience it's okay. Put aside those tools now. Now we are in a comedy world, and that was
Israelis aren't politically correct, are they?
now we are saying everything up front. Uh, I think because of this, 90% of the countries doesn't like us. Not because of our size, not because of our military, because we are like those who are telling the truth at the face. Like, and it's hard to hear the truth, man.
Allah panim, right?
על הפנים, בתוך הפנים.
Listen,
Yes.
I want to mention a few more character traits of the Israeli because I'm very fascinated lately by the sociological components of Israel and the Israelis. So just let me mention a couple. You just tell me what jumps out at you. Conversations that overlap, talking at the same time isn't seen as rude; it's engagement. Friendly familiarity with strangers. Small talk happens easily. Asking personal questions early is normal and often meant as warmth, not intrusion. And informality with authority. Titles matter less in daily interaction. People speak directly to bosses, teachers, and officials in a conversational tone. What jumps out at you when I mention those three things?
Listen, this is an there's all those movies of like New York in the 20s, 30s, after the big depression, after it, and you see all those immigrants communities
Yeah.
working together. One brings the bread, another one clothes. They're working together because this is their block. This is the Italian or the Poland Jews block in Lower Manhattan, and they are. And I think Israel is like that. Like we are very much not the same, but we are like living here together, and it's very small and it's very hectic,
Yes.
and people feel comfortable to ask you private questions. If no, they can come to someone and ask her when you get married a year ago, and you don't have kids. Why you don't have kids? You
Right.
don't
Yeah.
bring kids. You don't want to bring kids.
Okay.
Maybe you adopt. No, I don't have a problem. Why are you asking me if I have kids or not? I met you on the supermarket. You're the cashier. What do you care if I
Yes,
have?
we're close. We're close already. Yeah.
Because it's a part of the Israeli. Marry, have kids, make Jews great again.
Are you okay with authority? How are you with authority?
Um, what kind of authority? Listen, I'm a self-employed. I'm a freelance, so I don't I don't react good with authority. If I'm 25 years freelance, I can't have a boss. So I think Israel is always want to be the boss themselves. They know better than everyone.
Yeah.
They,
Yes.
they know everything you should know, and they will teach you. I think it's part of the Israeli mentality to know everything about everywhere, about everyone, and this is part of our life, part of our culture. But it's
I
true.
think that's accurate. As we wrap up, do you know any Yiddish? As
Abyssal, few
Zvi
words.
Arye? Can you talk like Zvi Arye a little bit?
Uh, nope, I don't think I can talk. I can do. I can. ואפילו באסטורה שבסויך אסטורה
Yeah.
ובדוי גם שום. But it's not Yiddish. It's Hebrew. It's like the way they.
The Doven and
Yeah, the Talmud
yeah,
Hebrew.
yeah.
Hebrew. Um,
Sarel, I have been playing around with AI for the last few months, and for each of my guests, I've asked AI to produce a poem. So I have a poem about you, Ode to Sarel Piterman, The Doorway Between Moments, it's called.
okay.
Welcome to the show where stories do not rush forward, but unfold like breath against a quiet window. Some performances speak loudly, others rarer or open a doorway. A glance becomes a history, a pause carries generations. A silent hums with longing, humor, and faith. And into that doorway steps Sarel Piterman, moving not as a spectacle, but as a witness. He understands that the ordinary moment is never ordinary, that inside a kitchen conversation, a hesitant smile, a father's stubborn pride, a son's unspoken yearning. There lives an entire universe. Is the intimate world where family oral tradition, like planets circling memory? Sarel Piterman stands with restraint and truth, allowing tenderness to breathe. There, love is imperfect. Grief lingers politely in corners. Faith negotiates daily with doubt, and humor slips in like sunlight through curtains. He does not force emotion, he listens for it. He lets stillness speak. He trusts that what is felt outlives what is said. Across landscapes of story, his path widens. Ambition flickers under public gaze. Artists collide in sparks of ego and wonder. Friendships strain beneath survival. Mystery hums beneath ordinary days. Soldiers carry quiet courage. Cities tremble with myth and fear. Loss reshapes the architect of memory. Farewell teaches dignity. Through it all, Sarel Piterman moves with a calm intensity, a craftsman studying the fragile bridge between identity and imagination. And Sarel Piterman honors those layers without judgment, without haste. This is the artistry that transforms memory. This is the artistry that transforms moments into memory, not spectacle, presence, not performance, truth in motion. That's it.
Thank you, Avrum. Thank you, the AI. And
You're welcome. I
and
enjoyed my time with you very much, and I thank you for being part of this. And I wish you, as they say in Jewish and Yiddish, Yishakoach, for all your successes, Sarah. You've done a magnificent job to date, and I wish you and your family well as you move forward and bring entertainment and bring happiness and bring thought, not only to the Jewish people, not only to the Jewish people in Israel diaspora, but to all of the world.
I
Yishakoach.
hope so. I hope so. I hope so. See you soon in our next tour in Canada.
Yeah, I look
And,
forward to it. I look
and
forward to
thank
it.
you very much for your time, Avrum.
Ladies
Thank
and
you.
gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and for watching. If you have any questions, please be in touch with me. If you have any questions for Sarel, I can help you get answers to that as well. Some of the things that I think that you can take out of this interview is an intensity, is a focus, is an understanding of human behavior. All of those are important in terms of the development of the self. And one of the things that I often comment on after interviewing somebody is that people who attain a success in life do so because of a lot of sweat and a lot of intensity. And once again, a lot of focus. If you're not quite sure where you're going with life, if you haven't quite found your zone, walk through a library and see which areas really grab you. Start reading about it, start learning about it, start understanding it inside out, and then pursue it. And ultimately, you will find a lot of happiness and a lot of satisfaction. Until then, as my dear mother used to say, God bless her soul, Zeigezint, go in good health, and we shall see you again. And thank you again, Sarel.